Ladies and gentlemen, photo and video pros in the stands and watching at home, get ready, because tonight it's business time. We're talking marketing and pricing and how on earth you manage those clients from hell. From mini sessions to the big leagues of the corporate world, calling the plays, breaking down the tactics, your coach, your host. Here he is, Daryl Stringer.
All right, what are the biggest problems you have with clients pushing boundaries? Are you able to hold firm, or do you sometimes, just sometimes, cave into them? We'll have a chat about boundaries and how you enforce them. We're also going to have an open mic Q&A where you can call in and talk to me live, or you can just drop a comment if you prefer. And you can ask me any business questions you have. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Daryl Stringer. My background is that I ran a photography business for 17 years. And for the past 11 years, I've been a photo and video business coach, where I help amazing people build strong, viable businesses. And that's what I want to help you with today. By the way, if you're watching this later on, this is a live show, so it might look less than 100% polished. I've got a lot going on, but this show is 100% authentic. Hopefully you enjoy it and it helps you build your business. All right, to get things started, let's kick off with a trivia night.
Let's do this right. Put your thinking caps on. It's trivia night.
All right, so I've got 4 questions here, all about photo and video gear, the technical side, and a little on the history of photography. So what I'll do is I will put a question up on the screen, and I'll give you 60 seconds from when I first put it up for you to drop your best answer in the comments. Now, there's no prize for someone coming first. This is just a way just to test your knowledge, have a bit of fun, maybe learn a few things. So hopefully you're all ready to go. So let's go to question 1. Over here. What does back button focus change in terms of how your camera focuses? Okay, what does back button focus change in terms of how your camera focuses? I'll give you a minute. Drop your answer in the comments, and we'll see if any of you get this one right. KB Real Estate Photos says on Instagram, it's locks in. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, elaborate maybe. Oh, let me kick that off again. I paused it. Let's keep going with that minute. We've got a little bit more than a minute for this one. Yeah, locks in focus. I have mirrorless, so it's been a hot minute. Yeah, cool. Yep. All right, let me see what answer we get. Good reply there from KB Real Estate Photo. Just checking in elsewhere. Okay, cool. Stop. I got to stop pressing buttons. It keeps pausing our little countdown clock. Okay. All right, let's see what we get. What does back button focus change? The answer is it moves autofocus activation from the shutter button to a rear button on the camera. So you're separating focusing from taking the shot. So it just means that you can then have it focused. It's kind of locked in, if you like, once you press on it, and then you can press your little shut button and it will just shoot. You don't have to sort of be focusing with your shutter. So next question. What early camera type is known for producing a single direct positive image on a silvered copper plate? All right, so obviously we're talking silver copper plates. We're going back to the 19th century for this one. So drop your answer in the comments. Let me know, are you all aware of what this one is? I'm just going to check in on the questions elsewhere. It keeps pausing. What early camera type is known for producing a single direct positive image on a silvered copper plate? No cheating, just see if you know a little bit of history of photography here. All right, we've got 15 seconds left. Let's see if anyone can get this one. Nearly 3, 2, 1. Let's go. The answer is the daguerreotype, which was produced in 1839. So just wondering, does anyone know, let me just scroll down here. Does anyone know who introduced this in 1839? Just see if anyone knows what that one might be. Okay, it was Louis Daguerre. And it was massively influential in terms of the early development of photography way back in 1839. So let me just check any comments here. Cool. All right. Let's go then to the next question, which is, what is the purpose of log picture profiles in video? What is the purpose of log picture profiles in video? Drop your answer in the comments if you know a bit of a description of how they help us when we're shooting video. Yeah, fun fact. Yep. Exactly, KB Real Estate Photo. All right, anyone else going to drop in how much do you know about the video side of things? Some of you, this will be super, super easy. There's certainly some industries and types where this is super common. We use it all the time. For some others, though, this may not be quite so familiar. So let's see, we've got about 15 seconds left, and then we'll jump on. All right, 6 seconds to go. Tell me about log picture profiles. And there we go. All right, let's go. The answer for this one is it's to capture more dynamic range. So it's a really flat image, and then we do some color grading on it, and it really boosts up what we can see more, picking up more of the shadows. Works really well when you're shooting like interiors and you're trying to get through the window view. And we don't have so many blown out highlights. It's a flatter profile, so we can more easily see what's going on out there. Let me just jump on here. Okay. Cool. And let's go now to question 4, which is our final question for our trivia today. And so this is a who am I question. Who am I? I was an American documentary photographer whose images during the Great Depression revealed the human impact of economic hardship. While working on a government-backed project documenting displaced families, I created one of the most famous photographs in history, known as Migrant Mother. Anyone got any thoughts on what that is? We've got about 26 seconds to go. Let me know if you can work out this who am I question. If you know a little bit of your history of your photography, you should be able to get this, but it won't be for everyone. So I'll just wait a little longer. What have we got? 20 seconds left. What's your answer to this who am I? Keen to see what you come up with. Nearly there, just counting down a little bit more. Okay, there we go. All right, so before I jump on, I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments. See what we've got in here. I'm not seeing it there. All right, so let me jump on then to the answer is Dorothea Lange, amazing photographer. She actually co-founded Aperture magazine. She did a lot of work for Life magazine as well when it was massively popular back in the 40s and 50s. And Ansel Adams also brought her in to teach at the first fine art photography department at the California School of Fine Arts. An amazing photographer. All right, let's move on to our next segment. We go to
It's time for open mic Q&A. Drop a comment or call
questions. With this segment, you're all welcome to leave a comment on whatever platform you are on right now. So drop a comment if you just want to talk that way. If you want to leave something, ask a question, do that. If you want to join me live, you can call in like a radio show or like a TV interview. I've got a link there, buildaphotographybusiness.com/live. If you go there, you can click on the link to call me here in the studio. You can go with your webcam on or off, whatever works for you. Feel free to jump on there. So while we're waiting to see if anyone wants to have a chat or for any comments to come in, just want to quickly mention my business coaching, see if it's a good fit for you. If you'd like to schedule a Zoom call with me, if you just want to DM me, that's fine as well. I'd love to talk with you about that.
It's time for a coaching session.
All right, let's move on to our next session. Our coaching session. Let me click here. So what I want to do is just a coaching session on boundaries. It's an area where a lot of creatives fall short. So here's an example of what I mean. Sorry, let me just click through here. So let's say it's 9:47 and a client for a branding session sends you a text that says, quick question. And then it's 3 more messages. What should I wear? Can you help me pick locations? Can we change the whole vibe to something more corporate? And then suddenly you're doing a full planning session for free at night when you're meant to be switched off. Here's another example. Maybe you delivered their gallery of images, they're excited, which is great. And then they message you like, hey, any chance you can edit the other 40 images you didn't include? I just want to see all of them. And they're saying that casually, like it's a button that you click. But what they're really asking for is a whole second round of work that wasn't paid or wasn't what they paid for. Here's another one I see all the time. It's maybe the morning of the shoot for a business client, and you get a message like, we woke up and it's cloudy, can we reschedule for tomorrow? Or we're running 45 minutes late, just start when we get there. And they assume your whole day is flexible, like you don't have other clients, editing deadlines are all life. It's not that they're trying to be difficult, they just don't realize they're treating your calendar like they're the only client in the world. And I'm sure you've had clients like that at times, and it's difficult. So what I want to look at today is what boundaries actually are. We'll look at 5 core boundary categories, how to introduce them, and some simple scripts you can use for your own boundaries. So first of all, what are boundaries? What do we mean by that? Well, what we're talking about here is simply clarity on the what, the where, and the when. So what is it you're shooting and delivering? Where is it taking place? And when will it start and when will it end, so that there's some kind of time limitation? We also want to talk about the consequences or the costs if you need to move outside those boundaries. So a boundary might be, I'll deliver 15 photos and we'll allow up to 1 hour on location at the client's business. If they want extra photos or extra locations or extra time, then here are the extra fees for each of those. Now, it's really important here that we remember that this isn't about being rude or inflexible. So when we're sharing our boundaries, we want to make sure that the language we use is friendly. We don't want it to be interpreted in a rude or offensive way, because when we do this the right way, the boundaries help your clients because they're clear on exactly what they're going to get and what the cost is going to be. And they can see that if they change their mind and want more, if the scope of what you deliver changes, it should be very clear to them what those extra costs are going to be. Now, that's not to say that every client will understand all of this, because that just doesn't happen. But if you are clear with your boundaries, then at least you have a reference point that you can go to, or a contract that can back you up when you add those extra fees. Okay, so let's look at 5 of the most important boundary categories. And the first one on this list is a boundary around communication. So we're talking about office hours, when you respond to messages or answer your phone, and perhaps your preferred channels for communication. And this is really important. Like it's great to make yourself available for your clients, but you also need time away from your clients in the evenings or on the weekends or anytime when you just don't want to be contacted by a client. And what limitations you put in place there is really, it's totally up to you. There's no requirement here. You can set your own hours, which is like the nice thing about running your own business. The next category is scope boundaries. So that's where you define what's included. So is it 5 photos or 20 photos? And then you define the cost for anything extra. And that can include edits, extra visits, extra time, anything that's relevant to that particular project. The third one on our list is timeline boundaries. And what we mean here are like delivery times, where maybe you say that the photos will be delivered within 7 days or next day, but you can do a rush delivery for X amount. So this could also include client deadlines, when maybe you need the client to supply you with details for a big video production or access to a location. And you set timelines for that and extra fees if there are delays in what they need to deliver to you in order to proceed with that particular shoot. Number 4 is a big one. This is money boundaries. So this is where you define the deposit that they need to book you for a shoot. You define whether they pay you before delivery or before they can download the files, or whether they can pay afterwards. And you set things like late fees and any add-on costs for extra services, extra locations, extra anything at all that's relevant for a particular shoot. And again, what this looks like is totally up to you. You can set it to be anything you like, but just make sure you communicate that clearly to the client prior to any confirmed booking or payment or anything like that. The final category is usage boundaries. And this is really for commercial work, where we want to define what the client can use the visuals for, and maybe how long they can use them for, and perhaps again, even the territory that they can use them in. What this looks like is up to you. It's all about defining what these boundaries or usage boundaries are, and whether you have tight limits on usage or whether you have a more open license around that. Okay, so how do you introduce these boundaries? My experience has been that you set them as early as possible. Now, maybe you list them on your website in your pricing table. Maybe you have them clearly listed in your response to the client who says, how much for a set of photos? Maybe you list them then. Maybe you put them in an email to the client when they confirm the booking, and you make it all very, very clear. And look, maybe you need to remind them during the photo shoot as well, but just keep it really calm and consistent. And what's super important with all of this is clear communication. So you give the client every opportunity to learn about the boundaries for this shoot. That doesn't mean they read them, right? But you still need to do all that you can to share those boundaries with the client early on. One thing that a lot of photographers struggle with is enforcing boundaries. But this is something that you need to do and just try and do it as politely as possible. So if they ask you a question about moving outside the boundaries you've set, whatever they are, you just politely respond with, look, I can definitely do that, though there is an extra fee to do X, whatever that is. So on that issue, let's look at how you frame this. So for example, going back to the what I mentioned earlier, if a client sends you a text message late at night or super early in the morning, maybe you can have an automated response, or maybe you manually respond with something like, got it, thanks, I'm offline now, but I'll get back to you tomorrow during business hours. Now, this acknowledges the client, but is clear about when you reply. Now, what about if they start asking you to expand on what you deliver, right? The whole scope creep. Well, you stick to what you priced them on initially, and you say something like, we're happy to add that if you like. Here are 2 options and the investment or what it costs for each of them. And then we leave it with the client to decide, right? So just because they ask for a free set of photos, it doesn't mean you have to give those photos to them for free. You can simply let them know that what they're asking for adds an extra cost, and would they like you to do that or not? Don't let them push you over when they ask for extra images or extras in terms of deliverables. What about revisions? Again, we want to stick to what you promised from the start and let them know that if they'd like any additional rounds of edits or revisions, the cost for that extra work is X amount up and above your previous fee. And then let them decide if they'd like to go ahead or not. So let them know the cost, let them choose. And then finally, there's like delivery time pressure, where the client is asking you an hour after you get back to your office, and they're wondering if the photos are ready to go. So this is where you politely reply with something like, our standard delivery is X days, though a 24-hour delivery is available for X. Would you like that for this particular project? And if they say they didn't know it would take that long, that's where you politely refer back to previous communication or what you have listed in your price list on your website, or however it is that they where they saw your pricing for this particular service. So in summarizing all of this, I'd say that you need to set boundaries for everything you do and what it will cost to move outside those boundaries. Secondly, clearly communicate those boundaries and any additional costs to your clients from day one. I sometimes see photographers try and add them in after the fact, and it's too late by then. We really need to do it early on before we get too far down with that client. And then thirdly, hold firm when they're putting the pressure on. And I know it's hard. It really is hard, but try and stay calm and polite and just reply as best you can with your boundary and what the fee will be to move outside that boundary. Okay. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, or if you've got any questions for me, drop them in the comments, or if you're watching live, you're welcome to join me here in the studio. Let me just have a quick check here, looking at comments in here. I'm not seeing any extra comments there. Let me just check any comments over here. Not showing comments up there just yet. Let me check in here. Okay. Nothing else mentioned in there. So if I'm not seeing any quick comments or anything come in, I'll just wait just a moment. Again, what I want you all just to take away from this is set boundaries for everything and enforce them. Just be really clear about what it costs. Like if a client of yours wants extra photos, if they want extra locations, if you need to do more edits, if they need images delivered faster, if there's anything they need to do, set some boundaries, be really clear about that, communicate them really, really well, and let the client know what it's going to be for any of that. And you've been in a much better place. Like you actually have a life away from your clients if they're getting a little bit too intrusive, and you're actually going to be paid for all the hard work that you do in your services. Let me just check again. Nothing there. Cool comments here. Okay. So I will leave that for today. Feel free, if you're watching this later on, drop in comments. I'll be checking in on the socials to see if you've got anything else to share. So I just switch off to that one. So that's it for today's show. I hope you got something out of that. I hope to see you here then at the same time next week. All right. Bye for now.